Hiroshima on August 6, 1945. The B-29 was the most formidable, the most advanced.
This is the one you're asking?
Do you mind? You are so good. The B-29 was the most formidable, the most advanced bomber the United States deployed in the Second World War. It had pressurized compartments for the crew. Everybody know what I mean by pressurized compartment? If you've ever flown in an airplane and you could fly in your shirt sleeves or a blouse, that's pressurized. You can breathe the air. Only the B-29 was the only bomber the United States had that was pressurized, and the other bombers, they had to wear very heavy suits to keep warm, and they breathed pure oxygen for the entire trip. This would have been luxurious by comparison. It had radar. That bubble underneath the middle of the airplane, that's the radar dish. The only airplane that the Americans, the only bomber the Americans built in large number with radar. For self-defense, it had machine gun turrets, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. I'll explain in a minute why you don't see them on this airplane. It was a formidable aircraft. It could travel thousands of miles without refueling and carry thousands of pounds of ordnance. It had its share of problems in development, primarily with these huge engines. I have 6 cylinders in my car. There are 18 cylinders in each engine. These are Wright Cyclone R3350 engines. And they tended to overheat and catch fire, which is not a great thing for an airplane. Eddie Allen, of Boeing's top 4-engine test pilot, was killed in a test version of the B-29 in February 1943. When he was flying the airplane around Seattle, he got an engine fire. It burned right through the wing before he could land the airplane. Killed Allen, killed his crew, killed people on the ground. The Air Force was committed to this airplane. They needed a long-range strategic bomber, and by June of 1944, we began deploying these airplanes to bases in China. It only served in the Pacific theater, never flew bombing missions in Europe. We attempted to bomb the Japanese mainland from bases in China to begin with. It wasn't very effective. About that time, the late summer, early fall of 1944, the Air Force pulled together a team of its top bomber pilots. See, I talk with my hands, so it's great that you have my book. They pulled together a team of their top bomber pilots, and they would become the pilots that would be trained in delivering the atomic weapons. The atomic weapons were being developed in the Manhattan Project. We all know that, right? But we needed a special bomber. The B-29s were okay, but we needed a little different B-29 bomber. And so one of these bomber pilots, Colonel Paul Tibbets, was ordered to Omaha, Nebraska. And the Martin Aircraft Company in Omaha was going to build a number of these special B-29 bombers, 65 of them, under the code name Silver Plate. They're a little bit different than the typical B-29. The armor plating, the additional layers of steel that we put around our crews, that all came off to reduce the weight of the airplane. Tibbets knew the nuclear bomb was going to weigh 10,000 pounds. I don't think anyone at Martin knew it was going to be a nuclear. They just knew it was going to be gigantic. In order to reduce weight, they had to take off those gun turrets. The gun turrets each had 50 caliber machine guns for self-defense. Right